Thanks, Concordia. And just at the outset, I want to say that just after that particular rant, that Sinn Féin never advocated a no-pay campaign. We were very scrupulous about that.
Never.
And along with a lot of the lies that I heard here in the last, along with a lot of the lies that I heard in the last 15 minutes, that's another one that needs to be nailed. But Deputy Deeran obviously has a problem with the truth. We've actively campaigned against and offered costed reasonable alternatives. If we failed in our endeavours here tonight, we'll continue to campaign against it at every opportunity. And we have given a commitment that if we ever are in government, that we will repeal the tax. And to put this family home tax into context, Fianna Fáil, who are not here, come up with this bright idea of taxing people's homes, regardless of ability to pay. In Fianna Fáil's National Recovery Plan 2011 to 2014, their party committed themselves to an interim site value tax of €100. Page 92 of it said Fianna Fáil's National Recovery Plan that there will be an interim site value tax will be introduced in 2012, applicable to all land other than agricultural land and land subject to commercial rates. And the interim measure will involve a fixed local service contribution of about €100. The final site value tax will be introduced in 2013 when valuations have been completed, unquote. And it goes on to commit Fianna Fáil to doubling the tax, quote, at an average of just over €200 per dwelling or site. It would raise 530 million. That's what they were saying, roughly the same as what the Minister and his parties are doing in government and the Labour Party. And I raise this to remind the public that there is no difference between the coalition of Fine Gael, Labour and Fianna Fáil on this issue. If you vote for one of them, you get them all. But there's some confusion in that coalition. Fianna Fáil was in favour of the property tax, and now they're not in favour of it. Fine Gael were against it, and now they support it. The Labour Party flip-flopped all over the place, but Deputy Gilmore, the Taoiseach, told us 3 years ago that it would be perverse to tax people's homes. Now we have them in government doing it. Any crocodile tealers from the opposition from Fianna Fáil is opportunism. In power, they too would be championing the family home tax. Not only is this tax an attack on low-income families, it also serves to undermine local democracy. Local authorities raise almost 60% of their own funding, but this government has continued to slash its funding. The Public Pay Motor Tax Fund to fund local services, and particularly roads, but this government this year grabbed 150 million out of that to pay debts. Households will not receive one extra service from this tax. So let's be clear. People paid income taxes, paid motor taxes, to pay local authority charges, and now to pay this extra tax for the very same services. Some households will also pay separately for things like fire services, and every household is now paying separately to private companies for waste collection. And Minister Noonan isn't here tonight. He took over all of this last year. He took it off you, Minister Hogan, and now he sent you in here tonight as a backstop for this. He's disappeared along with his junior minister, who made false accusations and then ran out of the house. But what they done was, Minister Noonan was here last night spinning, and he must be dizzy this morning when he woke up. He was claiming that Sinn Féin presides over domestic rates in the north, and claimed this was a local property tax. But what he didn't say about this payment was what services are covered. And he also forgot to say that, unlike the family home tax here, that there is a clause where people having an inability to pay are allowed out. People who are on disabled persons allowance, people on low incomes, which you didn't. Housing benefits, pensioners allowance. You stuck at all of them, Minister, so you did. I'm not here to defend the 6 counties. We want to see the end of the 6-county state. And in fact, Republicans in Sinn Féin are committed to abolishing that. And if you, Minister, or Minister Noonan, are talking to any of your British counterparts at one of your many meetings, you could actually say that to him. And as the United Ireland Party, Minister Noonan also failed to say that the rates in the north cover many things, including education, including school books, transport, school meals, fire services, emergency services, healthcare, social services, roads with no tolls, waste collection, water, sewerage, including septic tank dislodging, leisure and recreational facilities. Of course, in this state, households now have to pay up to 3 times for some of these services. Firstly in income tax, then in the family home tax, and then they have to go pay local charges. This government are focused on forcing people, particularly low and middle income families, to pay for this recession. You have failed utterly to share the pain. You heap it right on top of the people who are least able to pay and people who have played no part in causing this crisis. And your mantra of blaming these over here, Fianna Fáil, is beginning to wear thin. You're 2.5 years there now. Your family home tax, I'll blame him for what's due to him. Your family home tax is simply a tax too far. And this is before you even bill people, and people get billed for water next year, after the local elections are out of the way, very conveniently. Is there any threshold that you won't go below to make sure that the rich in society don't have to pay? And I heard the Minister talking about taxation a few minutes ago, and I'm surprised as a junior Minister for Finance, he doesn't even have his own figures. I have them here. They came from Minister Noonan's department, from his senior officials. And just for the record, people between 100 and 125,000 paid, people in that category, they paid 21% income tax. There's the figures, which came in answer to a Dáil question. They're there on that sheet of paper, they're on the public record, and Minister Hayes is not even aware of them. I actually find that disgraceful that he doesn't know that, and he gets up and makes a false accusation and runs out of the chamber. And then we have a situation where the likes of Micheál O'Reilly of Ryanair, huge mansion above in Westmeath, reported to be valued millions. And his bill is supposed to be reported to be in category 3, which would mean €157 this year. Isn't that amazing? The property tax makes absolutely doesn't discriminate between rich and poor. The property tax, be it from Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael or Labour, punishes the poor and those on low incomes, and they are feeling the pain a lot more than Micheál O'Reilly and many more like that. There are far more equitable ways of doing it, and we produced an alternative budget that does provide ways of raising funds, because you have to raise the funds. We understand that. It has to be done. Services have to be paid for. We also put forward many ideas in terms of cutting costs of local government, and the Minister sitting beside you knows that. And that requires going in there and cutting out some of the dead wood and bureaucracy at the top, reducing the salaries of those at the top, reducing the numbers of directors of services and other senior staff, but increasing the number of frontline staff, which will save money in the short and long term. It also requires reform of the tax system. Fianna Fáil is calling on this government to do what other countries do. Introduce things like a wealth tax. Introduce things like a 48% tax on income over 100,000, which the people over here on these benches who are not here tonight, what they wanted just before they came into government. The family home tax, despite what Minister Noonan said last night, and I quote, he said that the tax has reference to the ability to pay, unquote. It doesn't contain any such clause. It doesn't include any clause in relation to ability to pay. The Minister either didn't read his own bill or he misled the Dáil last night. He also went on to claim last night, and I quote again, that he was satisfied that the poor and vulnerable will be protected, unquote. That's simply not true. You know, there's no waiver. You can defer it, you can kick the can down the road, but you add on 4%, and you know that over on the government benches. And that's the thing the elderly people and poor people are terrified of doing. The poor and the vulnerable will pay the exact same as the Taoiseach and his millionaires. The only option for households who cannot afford it then is to suffer that 4% or ignore it and pay the 8%. In conclusion, this is unjust, and I'm saying this to you fairly and squarely. It's unjust, it's unfair, it should be rubbished. We believe that we need progressive taxation, we should reform the tax system. We believe that this needs to be done now. People cannot wait until the next general election to do it, and I would appeal to TDs on all sides of the House to put their feelings to one side about their linkages to the government and to vote for our bill to repeal the family home tax.